Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Chattin with CHAP. I'm your host, Ginger Wade, and today I have a special guest, Jack Dunham. Dunham, right? That's how you pronounce it, Dunham, from Clark Summit University, and we are going to talk about dual enrollment. So before we jump into that and what it is and all these questions that have popped up recently about dual enrollment, I did want to share the thought that we're talking about dual enrollment for senior high students. This would be like, probably even juniors and seniors, but you can be thinking about it as your kids are in middle school. I have talked with people recently who are using the term dual enrollment for kids who are taking classes at Christian schools and public schools, and they're calling that like a dual enrollment thing, which it threw me for a loop. I was like, what? So this is not that. This is not if you're taking a class or two at public school or you're taking a class at Christian school. This is senior high students doing college courses, which kind of takes away Jack's first question, but we'll talk about it again. But I just wanted to clear the air on that before we went and jumped into things. So Jack, you and I met, you were at the CHAP convention, but you and my husband, Steve, and I had a nice long conversation at the HAV convention down in Virginia. And so I reached out to you and I wanted to have you on to talk about this whole idea with dual enrollment, give some parents ideas on how to prepare their children for this opportunity. So how about you tell us a little bit about yourself that I didn't already share?
Yeah,
and then we'll jump into our questions.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to be a part of this. I'm glad to be able to share with you guys a little bit about high school dual enrollment. So I started in this role as an admissions counselor in October of 2022. I was a 2022 graduate of Clark Summit University as well. So I was a youth ministry major with a minor in counseling. So I came here for 4 years, went and did an internship with a church in central New York, working with their youth group, and then applied for the admissions counselor position here and started in October, and have really enjoyed being able to build relationships with parents and with students and just help you guys walk through this whole college search process. And that's really what our goal is to help walk you guys through this process and really find where the Lord is leading. If that's CSU, that's great. Obviously, we'd love that. But even if it's not CSU, our end goal and our end all be all is we just want you to end up where it is you feel the Lord is leading you.
Excellent. That's wonderful. So, okay, let's talk dual enrollment. So the first question, obviously, now I did a video on this a while ago, but people might not have seen it. So can you describe like what is dual enrollment to the parent out there who's like, what are you even talking about? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what high school dual enrollment is it's mainly targeted at juniors and seniors in high school who are looking to get a jump start on their college education or a jump start on their college degree. And so basically juniors and seniors can knock out a bunch of their general education classes or their entry level classes, maybe pertaining to their major, depending on the institution or the university that you do the dual enrollment through. But most places you can do dual enrollment and earn anywhere from 20 to 30 credits of college courses within 2 years, within your junior and senior year of high school. So you can knock out anywhere between 1 and like 3 or 4, semesters, depending on, where you do your dual enrollment through. And so through that, it gives you more flexibility as a college student, more flexibility in your schedule. So it makes it easier to add a minor if you're interested in doing that. And if you're interested in graduating earlier than, 4 years, it helps you do that as well.
Yeah, it's a great advantage. It's a great advantage for high school students, and especially if you know what you want to do. If you know, or even for my kids, I took it as if you don't know, take some stuff that get your feet wet, right? So you talked a little bit already about what the value of dual enrollment is. I mean, I don't know how it is at Clark Summit. Like what I know about dual enrollment is you can take a dual enrollment class cheaper than what you would take a college course, right? Is that the case?
Yes. Yeah. So that is correct. And that's common with a lot of universities is dual enrollment classes will be at a discounted price because they're high school students going above and beyond and doing extra work to be able to get ahead. So for instance, high school dual enrollment class here for like 3 credit class would be $825. Whereas if you were just doing online classes as a normal undergraduate student, you're looking at almost around 1,400 for the class. So, it's like $600, off. And so that is a huge discount, and definitely is a huge benefit to the student and to the family if they want to get that jump start on their college education.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's so many homeschool students, like as far as the requirements go for the law, they can actually finish early. And there's been so many that I've counseled to actually stay in high school and take advantage of the dual enrollment option. And like I said, explore things or knock out those core courses, because it's just hands and fists, like cheaper than just jumping into college. And it just makes a lot of sense. So that's really awesome. So, and this too, maybe these are redundant questions, I don't know, but is there anything else you would share about how to use dual enrollment to my advantage as a high school student? I think you touched on that a little bit, but why would it be helpful? What can they do as a dual enrollment student that's gonna like give them that jump start as a college student?
Right. So there's like 2 different avenues. I kind of see it as, everyone kind of sees it differently, but I kind of see it as one of 2 things. One, if you know out of high school exactly what you want to do, you can get all your gen eds pretty much done out of the way, because most of the colleges and most degrees that you go and are going to take, your first 1 to 2 years are going to be mostly general education classes. So if you already know what you want to do and you're like, I really want to just study this right away, doing dual enrollment and getting those gen eds knocked out will help you get into those more major specific classes. I know for me, as a youth ministry major, it was something I knew I wanted to do for a really long time, and having to go through 2 years of gen eds, wasn't a great time. So, I wish I would have done dual enrollment to get through those gen eds, so I could have gotten to, those youth ministry and those counseling classes a lot sooner. So you can, go about that way. Or another thing you can do, you mentioned earlier, just dipping your toe in the water. There's a lot of entry level classes that are specific to certain majors that you can do dual enroll. So, whether it's an intro to business course, an intro to counseling course, basically those intro classes within the majors, a lot of those are dual enrollment eligible classes.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So, and again, it's a cheap way to do it. You're not like switching your neighbor or your major 4 times when you're in school, and you're in school for 5 or 6 years, right? So it is very advantageous that way. So what does a student who dual enrolls show the admissions folks at a college? Like what should a 9th and 10th grade student be thinking about preparing, as they what do they need to have?
Right. So, I mean, the big thing is just making sure the work ethic is there, because you're adding onto your, your normal high school schedule. So just being willing and being, able to put in the extra time to work on, the class, because it is a college level class. So really what sticks out to admissions departments and admissions counselors is when they see a student who has a really good work ethic as a student, and then their grades usually reflect that as well. So that's one thing. And another thing I would always say, just even as a college student, that always sticks out to professors, is a willingness to ask for help as well. So, you are taking a college class younger than, a normal college student. So, there's probably going to be situations where you get stuck or you get confused. So, and that's totally okay. And so just be willing to, ask for help when it's needed, all that stuff. And especially here at CSU, that's one thing I loved about this place, is the professors are so willing and are so able to go above and beyond when a student needs help with anything, that they're ready to just step in and help with whatever's needed.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I always told my kids that too, that the ones that were taking college courses, if you're stuck, go ask for help. I mean, that was even for me in high school, when I was willing to say, what do you want? Like, I don't understand what it is that you want, or I don't understand what's going on. That made a huge impression on the teacher, because they saw that you were serious about your education and wanting to do well. So that makes a big impression. Yeah, so that's super, super valuable. So what is a college looking for in a dual enrollment student? I mean, you talked about it there a little bit too, about wanting to work hard. is there a high value placed on, say, a test score? Like, so many places are not requiring test scores anymore, but do they need, is it wise to take one, like an SAT or the CLT? And not even taken the CLT yet, but like, is there value in really preparing for a standardized test? Or
Right. So
okay.
I did some research into this recently, and it was kind of shocking to me the number of universities and institutions in Pennsylvania that have gone test optional. And a lot of that is because of COVID and just the fact that people weren't able to take the SAT,
Yeah.
the ACT, things like that. But it is a very, very small number of universities now, even within the state of Pennsylvania, that require any kind of test score. Now, there are a lot of universities in my research I saw that said that they'll look at a student in a brighter light if they provide, a good SAT, ACT, CLT score, stuff like that. But they're putting less emphasis on that and putting more emphasis on students' GPA that they have throughout their high school time, which I think is something that's good that's finally happening, because the fact of the matter is some people just aren't good at standardized tests. But they're brilliant within a classroom setting, and they know how to work hard, and they know how to get the job done there. But with a standardized test, for some kids, it can be really difficult. And so I would just say, just look deeply into whatever school the student is applying to and see if there's scholarship opportunities, because for some universities, they'll still do scholarship opportunities for an SAT or an ACT score or things like that. Or, they might have on their website that we don't require it, but, we recommend, that students take the SAT or the ACT. But as far as CSU goes, we're completely test optional. And then the academic scholarship that we give out is solely based on the student's high school GPA and not on a standardized test score.
Okay. Yeah. So like my kids dual enrolled at Lancaster Bible down here. It's near us. And they required a test score to be able to be a dual enrolled student. It's called Jumpstart. But it sounds like maybe you guys don't require a test score to do dual enrollment.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Yeah. So Elizabethtown College is also near us too, and they don't. So again, like if you're looking into dual enrollment, it's similar as colleges. You have to see college admission. You have to see if they need that. Like my daughter had to take she took the CLT 10 so that she could take classes at LBC. But it's just my preference is the classic learning test, which is a CLT, because it's a little different than the SAT and the ACT. So but it's good, but not all colleges accept it. Anyway, just putting that out there. So how does a homeschool parent find out and learn about dual enrollment options? Like, can they just call up any college that's near their house, and like, how do they find out about dual enrollment opportunities?
Right. Yeah. So, one way would be to call an admissions office. That's kind of like the old fashioned way to do it, I guess. But almost every university now has their high school dual enrollment information somewhere on their website. So I think at the end of this video, Ginger's going to post the link for our high school dual enrollment, and that link will take you directly to more information about how we do dual enrollment, how much it costs. There will be drop downs tabs of what classes are offered online, as well as what classes you could do for dual enrollment on campus, because we do have students who actually do come on campus. If they're local enough, they'll come on campus and do dual enrollment as well. So those are kind of the two main ways. And then there's also, you can fill out an inquiry form, requesting more information on, whatever university's website. And then that usually gets you in touch with someone from the admissions office. And then through the grapevine, you could, find out about dual enrollment going that route as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. So just go online. That's the answer for everything. Go online, you'll find it. So here's a question that parents might really, for students, is it generally, and I don't know if you've interacted with any dual enrollment students or whatever, or what you know about it, is dual enrollment generally too overwhelming for high school students, or do you think it's something that everyone could look into, or is it just those who are academically, prone, or, what do you think?
So I think it comes down to the students who are going to be willing to put the time and put the effort into it, because it's one of those things. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, type of thing. So if you're willing to put in the work, put in the extra time, it's something that is very doable, especially for people who have already developed, really good study habits. And that's one thing I've noticed as I've kind of interacted more and more with the homeschool community, is that your guys' students have these amazing study habits that I've seen, in high school students that I've met, that I had friends in like public school systems who didn't get these study habits till they were like sophomore or junior in college. I'm meeting 10th graders who are homeschooled who have these study habits nailed down already. So, I think homeschool students are very well suited and very well equipped to do dual enrollment. And I think, if a student is willing to do it and wants to do it, that for that student, I don't think it would be too overwhelming, because again, there's that desire to want to do it. And with that desire is going to come that willingness to want to put the work into it to get the most out of it.
Yeah. So it's that thing with homeschoolers who learn how to learn. Like we talk with parents a lot, just learn how to learn. Teach your children to figure out how it is that they learn best. And then they can figure out how to learn anything, really. So I think that's a big part of the homeschooling community is just we understand how we learn, and we learn in the way that we learn, and therefore we can learn things. So, okay, so for the most part, and maybe you don't know this, but if say you do enroll in one place, like my kids are local here, but say they would choose Clark Summit, would the classes they did, say at Lancaster Bible, end up transferring, or if they were at E-Town College, would they end up transferring the Clark Summit? And then I know this is it similar to if you transfer colleges? Like, how does that work? Like if you do enrollment in one place, but you go somewhere else?
Right. Yeah. So each university's like transfer credit policy is usually a little bit different. From our point of view, I can tell you for CSU that anything that is above a C transfers in, and we'll accept those credits. And at that point, it's a matter of putting the puzzle together, kind of as we say.
Okay.
So they transfer in their credits, and then they have their intended major, and then our registrar's office looks at, okay, here's all the classes they have to take. And then they look at, say the dual enrollment classes they took, and then they go, oh, this one fits here. This one fits here. This one fits here. This one doesn't fit, but there's a free elective down here, so we can put that one down there. Okay. So anything above a C transfers in, and then at that point, the registrar's office plays this puzzle game to just find out what fits there exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so but it would be good to check on the policies before you count on something, right? It's always good to check.
Yeah.
It's always wise. Okay, so I think you mentioned this earlier, but we're going to state it again. So if your student they chose to dual enroll junior and senior years, taking some courses, so in the end, that's going to transfer to a shorter time to get the bachelor's degree?
Correct.
Yeah. But then you were mentioning also, which I hadn't thought of that before, is maybe it wouldn't shorten the time, but it frees you up if you wanted to add a minor or even a second major kind of a thing. So it is advantageous. It will give your student time. It's going to free up time for them. Okay, so, and before we wrap things up, is there any advice that you might have for students considering dual enrolling, whether it's with CSU or elsewhere, or anything you would say to a parent in looking into the dual enrollment option?
Yeah, so I guess one thing for students and another thing for parents. So for my students, my advice is do it. Like, just go ahead and do it. Looking back, I always talked about, like, me and my parents always talked about, oh yeah, we're gonna do dual enrollment, and it was, oh, we'll get to it. We'll register for classes next session, and it never happened, right? And then, like I said, I had those 2 years of just like gen ed classes, where
Yeah,
I
and
was
you're like,
sitting,
yeah,
and I was like, I wanted to get to my ministry classes,
yeah,
because I was so excited for youth ministry. So like if you're thinking about doing it and you know that like you're a student who would thrive doing high school dual enrollment, I just encourage you to like take the leap and go ahead and do it, because the payoff in the end is gonna be so significant. And looking back on it, it's one of those things that, if I could do it again, I would have done dual enrollment
yeah,
for sure. And then
yes.
for parents, my thing, as you're looking at dual enrollment options for your students, look into each university's dual enrollment program, and that every dual enrollment program is going to have some sort of benefit for you guys on the back end of it. If you end up doing dual enrollment through that university and then coming to that, your student ends up coming to that university after graduating high school. So for CSU, what that benefit is if your student does dual enrollment through us and then comes to us as an actual undergrad student after high school, whatever you guys spent on high school dual enrollment for the classes and all of that stuff, your student will actually get half of that amount back as a
Ah,
scholarship during their
cool.
time here. So not only are you getting the classes at a discounted price while they're in high school, you're also going to earn a little extra scholarship money, for them if they
Nice.
end up then choosing to come here after high school.
Oh, that's really cool. That's awesome. I hadn't heard of that type of thing before. That's really neat. You know what? And as you were talking, it totally popped into my head that I didn't ask this question, and that is, do you have to be present and local to take dual enrollment classes? Can you do it online? How does that
Yeah.
work?
So in the link that will get posted in the comments that will take you to the high school dual enrollment page for us, as you scroll down, I think it's about halfway or 3/4 of the way down, there will be 2 drop-down boxes. One will have all of the classes that are available for on-campus dual enrollment students. And then there will be another drop-down box with all the classes that are available for any students who want to do online dual enrollment classes. And so for CSU, the way that works is if a student wants to do on-campus dual enrollment, they can do 2 classes per semester. And if they want to do online dual enrollment, they can do 1 class per session, because online classes are, so there's 2 sessions in a semester. So an online class is 8 weeks versus an on-campus class being 16 weeks long. So you're doing
Gotcha.
16 weeks worth of classwork in 8 weeks. So it's a lot more condensed.
Wow.
There's a little
Intense.
more work to it. So that's
Yeah.
why we limit high school dual enrollment kids. If they do online, just do 1 class per session. But you can do 1 class per session and get 6 credits, per semester. So if you do it for 2 years, I think with us, you could max out at 24 credits,
Wow.
in 2 years. So
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. So yeah, again, it's something you got to check with the school, because I do know at LBC where the kids go, I think they actually have to be there. So LBC does not have the online option for their dual enrollment students, but that's just their policy. So again, you got to check on the college's policy, because everybody does have their own thing on how they do things. So, well, this has been really great, Jack. I am so glad you were on. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about college specifically, but it was really great to answer some of these questions and give the parents some tools for getting their kids. And honestly, parents, you could be thinking about this if your kid is in middle school. I mean, like Jack said, they were always thinking about it, but never really did it. Well, be thinking about it now if your kids are in 7th and 8th grade, 9th, 10th grade, so that when you get to that point, you're ready. Like last year, it kind of hit me. My sophomore daughter, I was like, oh my goodness, like if you want to go to LBC, you need testing. So I had to go out and find it and make sure I had it so she could apply with the test scores. So it's good to start thinking about it early and just know what you need to do so that you're prepared to do it when the time comes. So Jack, before we wrap it up and say goodbye, tell us a little bit about like Clark Summit, where people can find you. I will post it in the comments, but if there's anything you wanted to say specifically, that'd be great.
Yeah. So our high school dual enrollment page will be posted in the comments, and then our main homepage, clarksummitu.edu, will also be posted down in the comments as well. And as you kind of scroll through the website, you'll keep seeing this phrase Christ-centered and career ready pop up all throughout the website. And that's because our school's mission is to prepare Christ-centered career-ready graduates. And so just a little bit of how we do that is every student who actually comes to CSU is actually automatically a double major in biblical studies as well as whatever professional major they choose. And it's already built in, and every traditional undergraduate student can still graduate in 4 years. And so even if you want to do some Bible classes for your high school dual enrollment, there's options to do some of those Bible classes for your dual enrollment as well. But we recognize that students may end up in a field or a job where they're surrounded by non-believers every day. But you know what? That provides our graduates a really cool and really unique opportunity to minister to those around them, because they're in ministry every day that they're at work, whether they realize it or not.
Absolutely.
And so we want to provide our students with that base level of Bible and theology, hermeneutics type classes to prepare them and equip them to be ready for that. Because we never know where God's going to lead them. And we just want our students to be prepared, because as my dad says, God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary
things.
So.
Absolutely. So wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. Everybody, you can check that out. I will post the links so you don't have to go back and what did he say? So I will post that there. Jack, thank you so much for coming on with me today. It was great to have you and to talk through some of these things. And like I said, next week, we are going to do a part 2, and we will talk about college admissions specifically. So you can get that in your head too. Lots of things to be preparing for as your kids get older, but it's all good. Do not fear it, parents. It is good. And there's help out there for you. So look forward to talking with all of you next week on that. And there we go. That's it for today. So thanks a bunch, Jack. And we will see you next week, everybody. Bye now.
All right.